Vishnu's incarnation as a fish warned King Manu that a giant flood was coming. Where else do we find a story of a giant flood? Recognizing the wisdom of the fish, King Manu cared for the fish as it grew from a tiny minnow to the size of the Pisces constellation of stars in the night sky. The fish advised good King Manu to build a ship to save himself from the coming flood. Heard this story somewhere before? Isis, goddess of the Nile, in a fish incarnation. And Isis, where nursing the infant Horus, is often shown with a fish on her headdress. Neptune, Poseidon, part man and part fish, ruler of the underworld of the sea, yet another representation of the sun. Pagan priests as half fish sprinkling holy water, stone relief on the temple labor from Assyria in the Pergamum Museum. So these priests would wear these outfits where the top part was a fish. Can you see that more clearly? You see the man with a fish headrest. Have you seen that before somewhere? Each priest is depicted wearing a fish head mitre. One of the names of this god is Babylon, and Philistia was Dagon. One of the most common ways of depicting Dagon is described by the archaeologist Layard. The head of the fish formed a mitre above that of a man, while its scaly fin-like tail fell as a cloak behind, leaving the human limbs and feet exposed. So here you see a clearer picture. Dagon the sunfish clearly displayed with fish attire and mitre. We also have Sybil. Sybil, the mystery goddess of Assyria Minor and Syria, with an episcopal mitre on her head. Notice it is a fish. And what do we find today? Mitres are universally used in Catholicism by popes, cardinals and bishops. There is no Christian origin for this symbol. The mitre has its origin in the ancient mysteries of the East, in Dagon worship. See this hat? What is it? The mitre? Look how it's shaped. It's shaped in the same shape as a fish's mouth. See the resemblance? It is exactly the same. You take the picture of the Pope and you take a picture of a priest of Dagon or Babylonian worship, and it is one and the same outfit. They are none other than Dagon priests. In the Roman Catholic Mass, the Eucharist or host, the round wafer, is derived from the Latin meaning the victim or sacrifice. It is round because it is a symbol of the sun. It is normally placed during ceremonial masses on a monstrance with a crescent moon, symbolizing the plunging of the sun into the womb of the goddess. Some monstrances bear the letters SFS, which in the mysteries represents 666. As S was the sixth letter in the ancient Greek alphabet, and F is the sixth letter in our alphabet. The round disc in the crescent moon was a symbol of ancient Babylon and is found in all the ancient religions. In Catholic cathedrals, these symbols are very prominent, often depicting the round form of mother and child within the crescent moon. The rebirth of the sun god was celebrated by the eating of round bread in Babylonian times and was common in the worship of Mithraism, Osiris worship, and is the same as that being practiced in Catholicism today. Historian Bishop says, the round wafer, whose roundness is so important in the Romish mystery, is only another symbol of Baal or the sun. The Egyptian sun god Osiris and later Serapis, god of the dead, were eaten in the form of a round disc wafer, a symbol of the sun. Spanish explorers discovered the Central American sun god Quetzalcoatl was made into an image by mixing maize, then consecrated by the priest and given to the people to be eaten. The Persian sun god Mithras and the Roman Attis were adored and eaten in the form of a wafer. In Rome, the juice of the grape was thought to be the blood of Bacchus, god of wine and revelry. The Roman Mass has its origin not in the Christian communion, but in the initiation rites of the ancient mystery religions, which are themselves traceable to the fertility cults and mystery ceremonies of Babylon. A golden door in the chapel of St. Ignatius in San Francisco, California, uses several symbols identifying the way for God. The unicorn, peacock, and phoenix are all well-known symbols in the occult for the sun, Lucifer, or Satan. And what do we find in the church today? Communion wafers. The monstrance, a Syrian cylinder seal. Notice the sun resting on a crescent-shaped monstrance on the left. Monstrances are from Babylonian worship. The ornament from King Tut's tomb, cradled securely in the womb of a crescent moon, is a solar disk with image of the young king. From the stele of Ur-Nammu of Ur, which is 2112-2095 BC, the solar blaze is the sun god Shamash, placed within the crescent of the moon goddess. It is basically male and female symbolism or sexual union. The Assyrian style relief of King Bar-Rakruk from Syria, 8th century. Notice in the center we find a crescent moon, and what's inside the crescent moon? A disc. Note the solar deity Baal-Hadad shown as a disc in a crescent. This monstrance base used to display the wafer god of the Mass in the Vatican Museum has the three letters SFS within a small blaze. Each of these letters is a universal symbol for the number 6 in the pagan mysteries. To the eye of an initiate, it simply means 666. And notice on that monstrance you have some lines which are straight and some lines which are curvy, which represents the male and female union. Alcott, commenting on the existence of cult symbolism in Christianity, writes, "Sun law of all ages, from the foregoing, which treats merely of the more important solar festivals, it is clear that these products of paganism are as much in force at present as they ever were, and that Christianity countenances and in many cases actually adopted and practices pagan rites whose heathen significance is merely lost sight of because attention is not called to the source hence those rites have sprung. In short, sun worship, symbolically speaking, lies at the very heart of the great festivals which the Christian church celebrates today. And these relics of heathen religion have, through the medium of their sacred rites, blended with practices and beliefs utterly antagonistic to the spirit which prompted them. The Roman Catholic monstrances use a crescent to mount the way for God, thus duplicating the pagan imagery of the solar disk in the crescent, the ancient symbol of cosmic conception. The Roman Catholic monstrances use a crescent to mount the way for God, thus duplicating the pagan imagery of the solar disk in the crescent. This is a cosmic conception. The majority of old monstrances used a crescent as a mount for the wafer, again placing it on a display for adoration. The placing of Mary in a crescent is a remnant of the fertility cults of the ancient mother goddess, traceable to the Babylonian queen Semiramis, who was titled Mother of God and Queen of Heaven, just as Mary is. The very images of the pagan gods were adopted as Christian. In some cases, the adoption received no other disguise than to have the word saint placed in front of the god's name. In other cases, the name was changed, but the rites, symbols, and processions continued as before. Pontifex Maximus. The papal title Pontifex Maximus can be traced back in different forms to the ancient Chaldean pontiffs. The term Pontifex literally means bridge builder. Maximus literally means the greatest, i.e. the highest. So the pontifices were the ones who smoothened the bridge between gods and men, the bridge builder, or the greatest bridge builder.